Good afternoon. I will call to order this remote meeting of the House Commerce Committee and ask Mr. Brown to take the roll.
Chair Stevenson.
Present.
Vice Chair Kotyza-Witthuhn.
Present.
Representative O'Driscoll.
Here.
Representative Barr.
Here.
Representative Carlson.
Present.
Representative Davney. Representative Elkins.
Present.
Representative Haley. Representative Cagle.
Present.
Representative Lee.
Lee present.
Representative Lilly.
Lilly present.
Representative Liz Lagarde.
Liz Lagarde present.
Representative Lucero.
Yes, sir.
Representative Olson. Representative Farr.
Present.
Representative Rasmussen.
Present.
Representative Richardson.
Present.
Representative Tice.
Present.
And I will call again those other names. Representative Davney, are you having difficulty connecting to audio? Representative Haley. Representative Olson. And then Representative Tice.
I'm here. Tice is here.
We have a quorum. Our first item of business is approval of our minutes from our January 27th meeting. Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn, have you had a chance to review those minutes?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move approval of the January 27th minutes.
Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn moves approval of the January 27th, 2021 minutes. Is there any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion prevails and the minutes are approved. The first item on our agenda today is House File 333. This is Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn's bill. Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn, would you like to move your bill?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move House File 333 be recommended to be referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Finance, and Civil Law.
All right, Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn has moved House File 333, and Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So House File 333 is a bill on reverse mortgages. We did hear it in Commerce last biennium as well. And to better support our seniors as they age gracefully and wish to age in place in their homes, this bill is designed to protect them by preventing unnecessary foreclosures of reverse mortgages. Sadly, both here in Minnesota and across the country, reverse mortgage foreclosures are an increasing problem. So the bill helps prevent this by doing three main things: providing the opportunity to designate a third party to receive notices of defaults and delinquencies that could lead to foreclosure, requiring the servicer to send those notices to the third party, and then giving the borrower an opportunity to stop the foreclosure if those notices were not sent. Unlike a traditional mortgage, a homeowner does not make monthly payments to the lender, but instead the lender makes payments to the homeowner, who is tapping the equity in the home to obtain income in order to stay in that home and age in place. The interest-bearing loan is repaid when the homeowner no longer uses the home as their primary residence. For example, if they are moving into a nursing home at some point in time. The homeowner still needs to keep current on property taxes and homeowner's insurance, as well as periodically attest that the home is still their primary residence. The loan comes due when the home is no longer the primary residence of the homeowner. So in a 2019 report, the General Accounting Office indicated that defaults on reverse mortgages have risen almost tenfold from 2014 to 18% in 2018. So the problem that this bill seeks to resolve is due to diminished capacity, more and more elders are defaulting on those home property taxes and homeowners insurance, or not returning the documents to the lenders that certify their ongoing residence in that home. So consumer advocates are seeing more and more cases of foreclosure on these reverse mortgages due to the defaults and delinquencies. This bill is really offering a simple solution. So in order to obtain a reverse mortgage in Minnesota, consumers already have to under section 47.58. Borrower must attend a house counseling session from a certified independent housing counselor, and that counselor explains an enumerated set of things that the borrower should consider before they decide to take this loan. This basically adds one more list or one more item to that list and encourages the would-be borrower to designate upfront, so before they move forward, a trusted third party, a child, another trusted person, to simultaneously receive those notices from the lender or servicer of the delinquencies that can lead to foreclosure. The idea is that any defaults or other problems can be caught and addressed far upstream, long before foreclosure is commenced, and therefore the homeowner gets to remain in place. I do have a couple testifiers to speak on behalf of the bill as well.
Sounds great. Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn, you can go ahead and introduce your first testifier.
Right. I would like to introduce Mr. Ron Elwood of Legal Aid. Thank you, Ron, for all your work.
Mr. Elwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Ron Elwood with Legal Aid. First, I want to thank Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn and the co-authors for bringing this bill forward. We came to her and with the problems that we're seeing, and we really believe this is helpful to keep seniors in place and age in place. You have a couple of letters in your packet from some housing counseling organizations that have experienced the same kinds of things that Legal Aid has been experiencing with these borrowers, and they are supporting the bill. Habitat for Humanity, Homeownership Center, and Catholic Charities as well. So we thank them for their support as well. And before I turn over to my colleague, Ms. McCormick, staff attorney at Legal Aid, who can just kind of tell you a story that illustrates the problem and why and the solutions that we're proposing, I do want to thank a number of the stakeholders with whom we vetted this bill and who have reviewed it and helped us with some suggestions, and which are incorporated into the language. I'd like to thank the Minnesota Bankers Association, the Minnesota Credit Union Network, the Independent Community Bankers of Minnesota, the Minnesota Realtors, and the Minnesota State Bar Association. Really appreciate their review and assistance. So with that, I'll be happy to answer some questions if you have them later on. Thank you.
Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn, I understand you have another testifier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
And on my list, it's Brittany McCormick. Is that correct? Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead and introduce.
No problem. Ms. McCormick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn, for bringing forward House File number 333. So I'm Brittany McCormick. I'm a staff attorney at Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid. I've been there for 5 years. Reverse mortgage foreclosures are a big part of my practice. I'd say they're 20% of the cases that come in. A lot of senior Minnesotans have, with reverse mortgages, have problems paying their property taxes, paying their homeowner's insurance, maintaining the property, and sending in really basic paperwork to the mortgage servicer, alerting them that they're still occupying the residence. The biggest problem I see is dementia and Alzheimer's playing a role in this. When the senior signs up for the reverse mortgage, they usually don't have symptoms of those, of mental decline. But as the reverse mortgage and as the senior ages, they do get some mental decline. And I had a husband and wife, and in their relationship, the husband normally took care of all financial matters. They signed up for a reverse mortgage in 2014, and by 2017, he was showing signs of Alzheimer's to the point that he was hiding mail from his wife and not, he wasn't paying the property taxes and he just wasn't keeping up on finances. And she finally contacted us when they already received the foreclosure notice that the sale was coming up. Thankfully, I was able to work with the mortgage servicer and get them on a repayment plan. But a lot of people aren't in that position. A lot of people are single or they don't have someone in their lives to do that for them. And so they're losing their homes to foreclosure for things that have very simple solutions. A lot of times the seniors can actually afford to pay property taxes. They just, for whatever reason, they just do not have the wherewithal to make those payments on time, which leads to foreclosure. So this is a really simple, low tech, low to no cost solution that could get people in the seniors' lives involved much further upstream. So it doesn't get to me and it's not a crisis, because these aren't really like legal cases per se. These are very simple solutions. They have to work with the servicer to come to a repayment plan, basically. So this is a really great solution for everyone. And I'm happy to answer any questions y'all might have.
Thank you, Ms. McCormick. Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn, I think that was the last testifier. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, then we'll open up for member questions and discussion, and Representative Lucero.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the bill author. I appreciate this bill. As a real estate agent myself, and as one who actually knows several people with reverse mortgages, this is important. It seems common sense and easy to avoid some terrible situations. Can you just clarify, is the notice, would it go out? So let's just say it would be time for the first notice to be sent out to the homeowner. Would the notice then at the same time to their designated person also go out at the same time? Or is there a few notices first before it kicks in for the notice to the second person?
Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn.
Thank you, Chair Stevenson. Representative Lucero, the third party would receive the notices simultaneously. So it would go out at the same time to both the homeowner and their designated party.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr.
Representative Lucero. Okay. Representative O'Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. To the bill author, just a couple of questions. Is there any language change in the bill from the 21 introduction versus the one that was heard last biennium in 2019 and 2020? I know you had referenced it was a similar bill, but I wanted to make sure that there weren't any changes.
Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn.
Thank you, Chair Stevenson, and thank you, Representative O'Driscoll, for the question and the clarification. We did make a couple of language changes. We received some additional feedback from some industry organizations, and perhaps Mr. Elwood, if you want to speak to that just a little bit and make sure everybody is clear on what the changes were.
Mr. Elwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Representative O'Driscoll. Actually, the bill has been improved as a result of some of the feedback we got. There are two changes we made. The first is to tweak the definition of servicing, which is on line 3.13, which puts it more in line with the existing definitions under 5802. And then adding a couple of words to that just to make it clear about the reverse mortgages, because the definition of 5802 doesn't really contemplate reverse mortgages. So it's more of a clarification so that we don't over-include anyone. And the second change is towards the end of the bill starting on line 7.4. The last year's bill had the housing counseling agency that provided the original counseling also receiving the default notices or the delinquency notices, thinking that, more eyes and more ability to intervene. The feedback we got was that perhaps we should make it clearer that there's express authorization from the borrower, not only to send the notices to the third party, but also to the counseling agency. So as you'll see on line 7.4 through 7.20, it's a separate and very discreet, pretty clear authorization saying I do or I don't want the notices also sent to the housing counselor. And those are the two changes.
Representative O'Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, to the bill author, I'm going to just kind of combine these two in one statement. The first is there a need for renewing this at any point in time with the mortgagor and their trusted third party? And then the second part of that question is just confirm for the committee that the trusted third party does not have the ability through power of attorney in fact, or any other opportunity without a separate authorization to act on behalf of the mortgagor.
Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative O'Driscoll. As we've written the bill, there's not a need to re-up this this approval for the third party, and of course, I mean they would be able to go and change the designee if they would so choose. And can you repeat the second part of your question? I apologize.
Representative O'Driscoll.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn, the trusted third party does not have the authority to act on behalf of the mortgagor as it relates to this. It's an advisory information piece only, unless there is a separate power of attorney or appointment of the agency to allow that trusted third party to act in another fashion. Is that correct?
Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative O'Driscoll, yes, that is correct.
Representative O'Driscoll.
Mr. Chair, just one other question for Mr. Elwood, if I could.
Certainly.
Mr. Elwood, does this bill in any way, shape, or form have anything to do with PACE financing?
Mr. Elwood.
Mr. Elwood, you do not have to answer that question.
Hey, it's the chair's prerogative, Mr. O'Driscoll. Mr. O'Driscoll. All right. Any further discussion to the bill? Seeing none, Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn, would you like to renew your motion?
Yes, I would, Mr. Chair.
All right. Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn renews her motion to that House File 333 be recommended to be referred to the Committee on Judiciary and Finance and Civil Law, and Mr. Brown will take the roll.
Chair Stevenson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Kotyza-Witthuhn.
Aye.
Representative O'Driscoll.
Aye.
Representative Barr.
Aye.
Representative Carlson.
Aye.
Representative Davney.
Aye.
Representative Elkins.
Aye.
Representative Haley.
Aye.
Representative Cagle.
Aye.
Representative Lee.
Aye.
Representative Lilly.
Aye.
Representative Liz Lagarde.
Aye.
Representative Lucero.
Yes.
Representative Olson. Representative Farr.
Aye.
Representative Rasmussen.
Aye.
Representative Richardson.
Aye.
Representative Tice.
Aye.
There being 17 ayes and 0 nays, the motion prevails, and House File 333 is recommended to be referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Finance, and Civil Law. Thank you, Representative Kotyza-Witthuhn. The next bill on the agenda is House File 418. Representative Hollins is with us today for that bill. Since Representative Hollins is not a member of the committee, I will move House 418 be recommended to be referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Finance, and Civil Law. Representative Hollins, welcome to the committee, and the floor is yours to describe your bill.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Chair and committee members. I am here to introduce the House File 418, which is an equity stripping consumer protection bill. This is a bill to protect elderly homeowners and other folks who are maybe in tax forfeiture and in jeopardy of losing their homes from what's known as equity stripping scam. This body has passed legislation in the past to eradicate this scam against homeowners in mortgage foreclosure. And what this bill does is to expand that protection to homeowners who are trying to avoid tax forfeiture or foreclosures from this situation. So I believe in the early 2000s, when we saw a lot of foreclosures happening, there was a bill that was passed, I believe it was 2004, that set up those protections. And unfortunately, they used the language foreclosure and mortgage in particular when we were writing that. And there's a recent court decision that has indicated that that does not apply to tax forfeiture. Although we do believe that the original intention of the bill would have encompassed that. And so what we're trying to do here is just tighten up that original bill to make sure that people are protected and not allowing, I don't want to use the word scammers, but allowing individuals who are basically scamming folks out of the equity of their home. I have Mr. Elwood as well as Brittany McCormick here to testify and answer questions on this particular bill, but I will say that we have not had any opposition regarding it. It's been vetted with a variety of stakeholders, the Bankers Association, Credit Union Network, Minnesota Realtors, the Community Association Institute, and the State Bar Association, and all folks seem to be in favor of this. So I will turn it over to Mr. Elwood, or
Mr. Elwood.
Mr. Chair and members, Ron Elwood again with Legal Aid, and thank you so much, Representative Hollins, for carrying this bill. I think you explained it pretty succinctly and exactly right. I think the only other thing I'd like to add is that the bill, we work with Hennepin County as well, because they're seeing this on the tax property tax division platform, and so they're seeing the same problems that we're seeing, just from a different angle. And we have been working with them, and the sections 1 through 4 of the bill actually simply codify an existing practice, which is helpful to homeowners that they employ, which is simply if the scammer or the investor in the property pays off the back taxes, the county still wants to give the quit claim deed, and does, back to the homeowner of record rather than to the scammer. They don't want to become unwitting and unwilling facilitators of an unscrupulous scam. So the sections 1 through 4 codify their procedure, and the remainder of the bill does exactly what Representative Hollins does, which is to make crystal clear that the protections that were enacted in 2004 to eradicate the equity stripping scam against perpetrated against mortgagors also apply in any other situations where you could lose your home, like tax forfeiture. So we want to make sure that what would be illegal over here would not be able to be perpetrated with impunity in a similar situation over there. So happy to answer any questions, but I know what my colleague, Ms. McCormick, again, can provide several stories, or at least one story about illustrating the problem. And also, I just want you to know that Mr. Jeffrey Strand from Hennepin County is here and available to answer questions on sections 1 through 4.
Thank you, Mr. Elwood. Ms. McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Hollins, for bringing this bill forward. So again, I'm Brittany McCormick. I'm a legal aid attorney at Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid, and I work on home ownership cases. So another part of my practice is dealing with scams and unscrupulous people who take advantage of, again, mostly elderly, often disabled homeowners in Hennepin County. So in this situation, like Representative Hollins described, this is often thought of as an equity stripping bill applied to mortgage foreclosures. It's almost more egregious in a property tax forfeiture situation, because in those situations, the property owner or former property owner has almost nothing but equity, because they almost always own the home outright with no mortgages on it. So the equity is huge, and the scammers know this, and they know that property tax forfeiture information is public. And so they prey on people who don't understand the forfeiture process and who are willing to listen and desperate to save their homes. And so we had a client who was in a repurchase agreement with the state or with Hennepin County to repurchase a forfeited home that he was still living in. And he was about to default on that repurchase agreement. And that is the end of the road for forfeiture. So he was really desperate, and equity strippers, approached him and said, we will save you from property tax forfeiture. We'll pay the back taxes, and you can rent the house. You'll deed us the property and you'll rent the house from us until you can buy it back from us at an agreed upon price. Of course, the older gentleman could not pay the rent that was demanded, and the equity strippers filed an eviction against him. Now, if we at Legal Aid were certain that, like 325N, the equity stripping bill applied in this situation, we could have used it as a defense to the eviction case, and we could have put a pause on the eviction case while we filed a affirmative equity stripping claim. Reading the statute, that was unclear to us the way it was written. So that's part of what we'd like to do with this bill is clarify the original intent that it does apply in this situation. And it was a lot for our client to go through. He had to go through the initial eviction appearance. It was postponed a couple times, and we had to file a temporary restraining order in a very quick manner. So it was very stressful and unnecessarily so. We think that this statute does and should apply to things like property tax forfeiture. We've had similar situations for people who have homeowner association liens that are approached by people who want to save the property. So we think this is, a really good solution to, unfortunately, scams that in the very near future, I believe, will become more common than they used to be. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. McCormick, for sharing that story and for your testimony. I don't have any other testifiers on the list, so we will open up for member questions or discussion to the bill. Any questions or discussion to the bill? Seeing none, Representative Hollins, would you like the closing comments?
I would just encourage folks to support this. It is good legislature protecting people who frankly are desperate and need our protection. So thank you so much for hearing us, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you, Representative Hollins. And with that, I will renew my motion that House File 418 be recommended to be referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Finance, and Civil Law. And Mr. Brown will take the roll.
Chair Stevenson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Kotyza-Witthuhn.
Aye.
Representative O'Driscoll.
Aye.
Representative Barr.
Aye.
Representative Carlson.
Aye.
Representative Davney.
Aye.
Representative Elkins.
Aye.
Representative Haley.
Aye.
Representative Cagle.
Aye.
Representative Lee.
Aye.
Representative Lilly.
Aye.
Representative Lislegard.
Aye.
Representative Lucero.
Yes.
Representative Olson. Representative Farr.
Aye.
Representative Rasmussen.
Aye.
Representative Richardson.
Aye.
Representative Tice.
Aye.
With 17 ayes and 0 nays, the motion prevails, and House File 418 is recommended to be referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Finance, and Civil Law. Congratulations, Representative Hollins. With no further agenda items on our agenda, I will adjourn this meeting. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock.